Welcome back to the channel, everyone, and thanks for joining me today for another practical look at sustainable Obengoddingling here across your roof. I want to have a friendly chat about a plant called Comfrey that can make a real difference in our city gardens, allotments, and even balcony setups without much fuss or ongoing cost. It is a hardy perennial that helps build soil fertility in small spaces where we often deal with poor soil or limited room. And it has been quietly useful for gardeners for a very long time. Let us start with its background so you can see why it fits so well into our low-input approach to growing food in urban areas. The story of Comfrey goes back quite far, with records from ancient Greece around 90 AD, where a physician named Dioscorides described a plant with sticky roots that was valued for helping broken bones heal. The Greek name, symphytum, literally means to make grow together, which hints at its traditional role, and for centuries, people in Europe called it knit bone for similar reasons. But it was in the mid-19th century that its value for gardening and farming really stood out, when a Quaker named Henry Doubleday, living in Essex, became interested during the time of the Irish potato famine. He was keen to find reliable crops that could support people through tough times, and he obtained some varieties from Russia that turned out to be an accidental hybrid with impressive vigor. These plants grew strongly year after year, even on poorer soils, and produced good amounts of biomass that could be used for forage or other purposes. Henry spent many years researching and sharing what he learned about Comfrey, but sadly, after he passed away, his family burned all his detailed notes. So much of that data was lost at the time. Fortunately, the interest did not disappear entirely, and in the late 1940s, a horticulturist named Lawrence Hills decided to carry on the work in Britain. He founded the Henry Doubleday Research Association and carefully tested a range of Comfrey varieties side by side, recording their performance over several seasons. By the early 1961, strains stood out clearly as the best overall, and that was Bocking 14, which offered high nutrient levels, good diseases resistance, and reliable growth. Importantly, it is sterile, so it does not produce seeds that might spread around unwanted, which makes it ideal for contained spaces like our urban gardens where we need to manage what grows where. Bocking 14 has leaves that are particularly rich in potassium, often higher than traditional farmyard manure. And this nutrient is brilliant for supporting fruiting plants like tomatoes and beans that we love to grow in Europe. The roots are another key part of what makes it useful, because they can reach down 10 feet or more into the subsoil, pulling up minerals that other crops simply cannot access. When you cut the leaves and use them in your garden, you are bringing those deep earth nutrients right to the surface for your vegetables and flowers to benefit from in a natural way. It acts like a living pump for fertility, which is perfect for sustainable systems where we want to recycle and build soil health without relying on bought inputs every year. Another practical advantage is how quickly the leaves break down compared to other green manures, such as alfalfa or clover, that can sit in a compost heap for weeks before releasing their goodness. Comfrey leaves can start to transform into rich humus in as little as 48 hours, which speeds up the whole composting process nicely for those of us with busy lives in the city. For urban gardeners in Europe, this quick action is especially handy because many of us have small plots or shared allotment spaces, and we need results that fit around work and family commitments. You can grow Comfrey in a dedicated corner of your allotment or even in a large pot on a balcony in places like London, Berlin, or Paris, and it will keep producing for up to 20 years once established. It handles our variable climate well, tolerating cold winters down to low temperatures and managing periods of drought without extra watering after the first year. The plant can be cut back several times during the growing season, often 5 harvests or more in a typical year here, and it regrows to full size within about 4 weeks each time. This cut-and-come-again habit gives you plenty of material to work with without needing to replant, which saves time and keeps your garden productive season after season. In Victorian times, it was often grown as a reliable option for maintaining soil health, and even today it serves as a steady source of organic matter that fits our focus on sustainability. You can use the fresh leaves as a mulch around your crops, where they slowly release nutrients as they decompose and improve soil structure at the same time. Or chop them up and add them to your compost bin to give the pile a boost as the microbes get to work, turning everything into black, nutrient-rich humus for the next planting. Many gardeners across Britain and other parts of Europe have found that a small clump of comfrey can supply enough cuttings to feed several vegetable beds, which helps reduce the need for commercial fertilizers. The potassium-rich leaves are particularly good for fruiting plants, and you can make your own liquid feed by soaking chopped comfrey in a bucket of water for a few weeks. Though it does have a strong smell, so tuck it away in a quiet corner. This homemade feed is simple to use and gives your plants a natural boost that supports healthy growth without any synthetic additions. It really helps create a closed loop in your garden where you grow your own fertility from one perennial plant, and that aligns perfectly with the principles of sustainable urban growing that so many of us are aiming for. The variety Bocking 14 that Lawrence Hills promoted has been shared among enthusiasts over the years, often through root cuttings passed between gardeners, which is how most people get started with it. It is not always stocked in every garden center these days, but once you have a piece, it establishes reliably and stays exactly where you want it thanks to its sterile nature. This makes it a safe choice for community gardens and allotments where we need to avoid invasive spread and keep things manageable in shared spaces. In cities with compacted or less than ideal soil, comfrey thrives on marginal land and brings up those hidden minerals to improve the area over time, which is a real bonus for urban sites. You do not need pesticides or much maintenance because the plant is generally trouble-free, and its deep roots access water tables that keep it going through dry spells common in parts of Europe. This low-input nature means it is well-suited to busy urban gardeners who want productive results without spending hours every week on care routines. Over the years, it has proven itself in a range of conditions, from cooler northern areas to milder southern European climates, so it adapts nicely wherever you are. The biomass it produces can be surprisingly high from a small planting area, which is why it has been valued for so long as a way to maximize output in limited space. Using comfrey fits beautifully with other sustainable practices, like no-dig gardening, where the mulch layer from its leaves protects the soil and encourages earthworms and beneficial microbes. It also provides flowers that attract pollinators, which is important for the bees and insects that help our fruit and vegetable crops set well in city environments. Gardeners who try it often comment on how it simplifies their routine by providing free material for mulch compost and liquid feeds, all from one established clump. This perennial approach means you plant once and benefit for many years, which is both economical and better for the environment by cutting down on transport and packaging of bought products. I hope this has given you a good sense of why comfrey could be worth adding to your own sustainable urban garden here in Europe. It offers a practical way to build resilience and fertility using nature's own methods, and it is especially useful for those of us working with small or challenging plots. In the rest of the video, we will cover how to source and plant it, along with tips for using the cuttings safely and integrating it into your seasonal routine. For now, just think about how a single clump could supply so much for your tomatoes, beans, and compost without extra shopping or effort year after year. Now that we have covered the background and benefits of comfrey, let us move on to the practical side of things and talk about how you can actually get it growing in your own sustainable urban garden here in Europe. Sourcing the right variety is the first step, and since Bocking 14 is the one we recommend because it is sterile and high-performing, you will probably need to look beyond the usual garden centers. Many enthusiasts get their first root cutting from online permaculture forums, local allotment associations, or friendly fellow gardeners who are already growing it successfully. Once you have a small piece of root, which is usually about 10 centimeters long, you can start the planting process at almost any time during the growing season. though spring or oat works best for establishment. Choose a location in your allrote border or even a dedicated spot in a raised bed where it can stay undisturbed for many years, since the plant will occupy the space for up to 2 decades. The soil does not need to be particularly rich because Comfrey is tough and will improve the ground over time. But make sure it gets a few hours of sunlight each day and is not in a constantly waterlogged area. Plant the root cutting vertically, about 5 to 8 centimeters deep, and space multiple plants around 60 centimeters apart if you are putting in several clumps for more biomass. Water it thoroughly after planting, and keep the area moist for the first few weeks while the roots take hold. But after that, the deep taproot will find its own water supply even during drier European summers. In the first year, it is wise to be patient and only take 1 or 2 light harvests so the plant can focus energy on developing that strong root system underground. From the second season onwards, you can cut the stems back when the plant reaches approximately 60 centimeters tall, leaving about 10 centimeters of stem above the ground to allow rapid regrowth. The regrowth is impressively quick, often reaching harvest size again within 4 weeks, which means you can realistically get 4 or 5 cuts in a typical British or Northern European summer. Each cutting gives you a good amount of leafy material that can be used straight away in various ways around your plot without any waste. One of the simplest methods is to use the fresh leaves as a mulch by laying them directly around the base of your vegetable plants, such as tomatoes, peppers, and beans. As they break down over the following days and weeks, they release their high potassium content right into the soil, where your crops can access it for better flowering and fruit set. This is particularly helpful in urban gardens, where we often grow in containers or raised beds that can lose nutrients quickly through watering and harvesting. You will find that this natural mulch also helps retain moisture and discourages weed growth, making your maintenance easier during busy weeks. For those who prefer a liquid feed, you can create your own Comfrey tea at home by chopping the leaves into a large bucket or old water butt and covering them completely with water. Leave the mixture to ferment for about 3 to 4 weeks in a corner of the garden, stirring it every phase, and be prepared for a rather strong, earthy smell during the process. Once it is ready, dilute the dark liquid at a ratio of 1 part to 10 or 15 parts water before applying it as a foliar feed or soil drench every couple of weeks during the growing season. This homemade fertilizer is gentle yet effective and gives excellent results with fruiting crops that benefit from the extra potassium without the cost or packaging of commercial products. Comfrey also makes a fantastic activator for your compost heap because its low fiber content allows it to decompose very rapidly compared to other materials. Adding a layer of chopped leaves to your compost bin will heat the pile up quickly and speed the breakdown of tougher garden waste, turning everything into rich humus in less time. This is ideal for urban gardeners who may have limited space for large composting systems but still want to recycle their kitchen scraps and garden clippings efficiently. Over time, the regular addition of Comfrey will improve the overall quality of your homemade compost, which you can then spread back onto your beds to build long-term soil health. Safety is something worth mentioning briefly, even though we are using it only externally in the garden. The plant contains compounds called pyrrolizidine alkaloids that make it unsuitable for eating or making teas, but when used as mulch or in compost, those compounds are broken down harmlessly by soil microbes. So you can handle the leaves with confidence for your gardening tasks, and there is no risk to your vegetables or the wider environment when it is applied in this way. Many people across Europe have been using it like this for generations, with great success and no issues in the garden setting. Integrating Comfrey into a no-dig gardening system works particularly well because the mulch layers protect the soil structure and encourage earthworm activity throughout the year. In continental climates with cold winters, the plant dies back naturally in autumn and re-emerges vigorously in spring, making it perfectly adapted to our seasonal changes. You can even grow it successfully in larger pots on a balcony or terrace, although you will need a deep container to give the roots some room to develop. The purple, bell-shaped flowers that appear in early summer are a lovely addition to the garden, and they attract bees and other pollinators, which help support the biodiversity of our urban spaces. Gardeners in places like the south of France or Mediterranean regions may find it needs a bit more shade during intense summer heat. But in most of northern and central Europe, it thrives with standard care. Sharing excess root pieces with neighbors or community garden projects is a nice way to spread this sustainable practice and build a network of like-minded growers who value low-input methods. Over the years, you will notice how the area around your comfrey plants becomes more fertile as the deep roots bring up minerals and the decomposing leaves add organic matter continuously. This creates a self-sustaining cycle that reduces the need for buying bags of fertilizer or compost, which is both better for your wallet and for lowering your garden's carbon footprint. I have seen many allotment holders in Britain transform their plots using just a few comfrey plants, combined with other perennials and annual vegetables. The approach fits perfectly with the principles of permaculture and regenerative gardening that are becoming more popular in European cities. It is a simple but powerful way to work with nature rather than constantly fighting against poor soil conditions or high input requirements. If you are new to this, I suggest starting small with just 1 or 2 plants so you can see the results for yourself before expanding the area. Harvesting at the right time is straightforward, and you do not need any special tools, just a pair of secateurs or even a sharp knife to cut the stems cleanly. Try to harvest on a dry day and use the material fresh if possible for the best nutrient retention, although you can also wilt the leaves slightly if you need to store them briefly. In autumn, you can cut back the last growth and leave the stems as a protective layer over the crown of the plant to help it through the winter months. Come spring, it will push up new shoots ready for another productive season with almost no intervention from you. The beauty of this system is that once established, the maintenance is minimal compared to annual crops or bought inputs that require regular purchases and application. For those of us living in apartments or with limited outdoor space, even a single large pot can provide enough cuttings to fertilize window boxes and small raised beds throughout the summer. It really demonstrates how sustainable urban gardening can be practical and effective without needing a huge amount of land or resources. I hope these tips give you the confidence to try growing comfrey yourself and experience the difference it can make to your garden productivity and soil quality. Thank you for watching this second part of our look at comfrey and for being part of our community of urban gardeners across Europe. If you decide to plant some this season, or if you already have experience with it, please share your thoughts and photos in the comments section below. I read every comment and enjoy hearing about your successes and any questions you might have along the way. In our next video, we will explore another useful perennial plant that complements comfrey beautifully in small space gardening. So make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell to stay updated. Until then, keep gardening sustainably, and I look forward to chatting with you again soon. Take care, everyone.